Hey, listen. Do you want to find out more about tabletop and live role-playing games, but not too sure where to start? Do you want to play a lot of different role-playing systems, but don't have time to try them all? Do you want to listen to new and exciting adventures, but without the long, boring character creation episodes or filler story arcs? Well, you're in luck. Check out What Am I Rolling, a twice-monthly RPG one-shot podcast. Available on the website, that's www.wairpodcast.com, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, adventures need not apply.
Life's a game, the world's a stage, and we are merely role-players, where theatrical people play role-playing games. I'm Matt, I've been your compere for this studio production, and joining me backstage are our cast, returning players Josh.
Hello!
And Strat.
Hey, hey.
Guest star Fiona.
That's me!
And introducing, at the end of her first season, Marta.
Ta-da!
Yay!
We made it.
We did make it. Well, first of all, thank you all for playing. I had a great time.
Yes.
Yes, that was good fun.
And I want to start with you, Marta. This is your first official Merely Role Players production. How did you find it?
Well, it was nerve-wracking and just horrible. It was horrible.
I regret to tell you that the nerve-wracking part doesn't go away.
Does it not? Oh dear. No, it was wonderful. It was great fun. Very different to any kind of role-playing game I've done before. So it was challenging. And it was funny because where I thought it was going to go, especially with my character, where it ended up going, very unexpected. It was weird as well because I hate, in these games, I'm always very conscious about like keeping things balanced between all the characters and not taking up too much of the focus. And I was like, oh my God, no, please don't look at me. Don't ask me questions. I don't want to say anything. But it was great fun. And I don't know, it felt, how should I put it? We were talking about this in between, not the sessions, but in between the recording bits, how it's very narrative oriented, and it was very much about crafting a story altogether, less about specific fights or, you know, what D&D usually is. And that really tickled my actor bones? Oh God, that sounded so much better.
Espionization.
So as you're saying it and you're going, oh no. Please stop talking. So yeah, thank you so much for that. It was a wonderful, wonderful first experience.
Thank you.
Loved it.
If the thing that was in your head was like, oh no, don't look at me, I don't want to be in the spotlight, I'm sorry, we kind of made your character the chosen one.
Yeah, you were the chosen one.
I know. As it was happening, I was like, oh no, this is not what I was going to be like the quiet, wallflowery, you know, interesting, mysterious, but mostly not present.
Suddenly snaps into action when there's a fight.
Protagonist, yes.
Pretty much, yeah. So
I
did
think
not
what
work out.
we may have unintentionally done then in that, and I kind of love it because I was saying at the start, like, nobody's playing the Nova, and I almost feel like what we just did then was the origin story of the Nova. Like, there was this grand awakening throughout the galaxy, and Revan was the first awakened Nova. And like, if that character were to come back, you could play a different playbook because now you've kind of gained like the achievement with the space between. But like, the reason no one was playing a Nova when was that there were no Novas at the start of this game. We just made them.
Wow, that's so cool. I like that.
Them.
Yeah,
that's
that
my fan
occurred to
theory.
me. That's nice.
Very Buffy the Vampire Slayer when they awaken all the Slayers.
Mm.
So it's not just the one, but all of them, which is great because it's like a weight off the shoulder. Poor Buffy's like, look, I've had enough.
Anybody have any favourite moments from that?
Well, my definite favourite moment was having both Strat and Josh play Callahan at different points in the story, but both having that same energy. And I the fact it was obviously between you two as well. I just was brilliant. I just made a note of that because I was like, that's really cool. And that's what I love about the system is that you can obviously hand over NPCs to other people, but the fact it was you two who had obviously set up as this horrible person which you don't cross, and yet both of your characters crossed her, and yet both of you also played her. So
we
it was
also
amazing.
crossed her in the same way. Both of those scenes were the same. We both just hung up on her.
That's her ultimate weakness, apparently, is being hung up on.
Yeah.
How do we all find that the design of these games where we share that what is traditionally the game master responsibility? Some of us have played Sleepaway before, which uses that kind of system. Marta, I know it was your first time playing a system like this. How did everybody find it?
It's a little overwhelming at first. I think just because we're so conditioned when we play games like this to essentially settle down as players and wait for the DM or the GM to take us onto the next scene or to the next path, and always to have a framework in mind. So being part of that, equal to every other player, takes a little bit of getting used to begin with. I think learning limitations within a game is kind of a bit mad because I'm always like, right, physically, what could happen? Would this happen? Would that happen? And ultimately, you can kind of say what you want to as long as it fits within the structure of the game. I think it just takes a little bit of getting used to playing in that fashion.
Yeah, I think it's interesting online as well, because I guess, because obviously there's that little bit of delay and obviously people not talking over each other, but I think we've also been very good, like we were saying before, like worrying about talking over each other or taking something. Like one thing I'm always conscious of is like, I have something, but I want to make sure other people get a chance, because what I might do might derail stuff, which it kind of did, like introducing this sort of this glyph like character, but I just thought, actually, I want to make sure that other people get a chance, because again, I think, and we're also quite good at it going, I wonder what Val's up to back in the spaceship, I wonder what Esko's up to, and being able to be like, okay, so we've had our bit, we think it should be this person next. And they could easily say, oh, no, not for me this time, I'm still thinking, which I don't think we did this time. But it is just, again, it's my favourite word at the moment, is setting expectations. And be like, okay, so this is going to happen, but don't worry about being awkward about it. Like, signposting is a part of this game, and it's okay, because then everyone's like, oh, thank God, and you just normalise it as you go through.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that, like, in any role-playing game, everybody in the group is both the performance and the audience. You are performing it for each other and for yourselves. But I think it's even more highlighted in a system like this, and exactly what you were just saying, Fiona, about the power to say, or like the enthusiasm to say, I'm really interested in what's happening to this other character right now. Please, can we hear from them? Yeah, I think exactly. It's us taking on the audience as well as the storyteller's role.
I think it also allows you to help people out, to get people out of a situation by just making something happen. And I quite like the fact that you go, there's no one person that has done all that work to figure out what's going to happen, and then you've got 4 other people that come blundering in and go, now we're going to go over here. Now, it really is, it comes together, and anybody can kind of just throw in a curveball at any moment. It feels far more organic than even the most loosely planned games where there is a single GM. Very
group mind, isn't it? It's like we'll come up with an element and then someone will add on to it, and obviously we're all sort of, as if you couldn't tell, we're all very into sci-fi or know of sci-fi elements, so stuff like a hologram appears, because literally at my moment I was like, oh yeah, a hologram should appear at this moment, and then it did, and it's the big bad and all that sort of thing, and I thought that was great. But at the same time, like that moment, Strat, when you were like, and now the mandate appears, and I was like, no, we were getting somewhere. But of course, that's the perfect point where trouble's about to happen, and I like that we can do that. And by the end, obviously, in general, you gel as a group, and you can sort of see like the seeds of like opportunity and what will make things work.
And I also like the power that you kind of have as a player as well, that you just wouldn't get in a normal game, and if you kind of did it, and you wouldn't be able, you get to do things you wouldn't be able to do if you were kind of at the whim of a GM as well. But there's a certain responsibility, like one of the favourite things I got to do was blow up the ship. But at the same time, I realised when I was going into that, I was like, I have this cool plan. I want to use a MacGuffin to blow them all up. That would be cool. That's a classic sci-fi thing. I was also very aware at the start that I had got into that situation by saying, I'm going to start a fight I can't win. Yes. I was like, oh, but I want to blow something up. And I went, hang on, I can just have more stuff turn up. So
Yeah.
I can say, haha, I've won. Oh no, I haven't won. There are more ships. So I didn't have, like, you got the power and the flexibility to say, I'm just going to borrow that pillar off you there, Josh. Lots of ships.
Another thing I love, that I don't know whether it's just this group or whether it is something that would happen with any group playing a game in this system, that like when you just look at the system and read all of the way the moves work and things, you could be tempted to think like the way a session is going to go is everybody makes lots of vulnerable moves at the start and then uses, the second half of the session is going to be all strong moves to help solve the problems you've created. But the temptation is very much still there to keep making vulnerable moves near the end of the session.
Mm-hmm.
Keep making problems.
Yeah, I just might need that token just in case.
I honestly lost track of my tokens. I had to keep going back and being like, "What should I? Am I okay to? What's going on?"
To be fair, you and Esko got a lot of tokens, so
Yeah.
But you needed them for some of the crazy moves that you guys were
Yeah.
trying to pull off, so it's totally fair that they went your way.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that you get to play a character, like a main character. You get to be a pillar or several pillars, depending on what's going on, and also characters within those pillars. It's like a really fine-tuned balance because everyone is DMing, everyone is being a character, everyone's doing an NPC. You're trying to it's like juggling 15 balls at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's both incredibly liberating and it's very improv, isn't it? It's like yes and keep building. And it's like if it goes well, I think ours did, it's super fun. But I was also, when we were playing and even before, I was like, there's also the pitfall of like keeping track of what you're building, of the structure of what's going on, like knowing where you are and what someone else just did, and also keeping the narrative moving and things interesting. It's, it's a lot, but it's great because I think that's what makes a good game great, is when it asks a lot but gives a lot.
Yeah. I think it's important that I think one of the things the game makes quite explicit in the rules is like, and this is one of those kind of role-playing game rule zero things that most people don't spell out in the rules, but that it makes a point of saying you don't have to speak in character. Like you could speak in character if you want, or you could just narrate, this is what the character is getting across. You can speak in first person or third person, like whatever helps you keep all of those things kind of organized in your head and
mix
respond
and
in the
match.
moment.
Keep jumping between them, use different voices. That's something that happens sometimes. I've heard in games.
Lingering questions. We created a lot of backstory and a lot of character connections. In a one-shot, we were never going to cover it all. If we were to ever revisit this world, what are some of the burning questions that we would want answered?
I guess for me would be what happened to Esko's mentor or mentee, because we saw lots of echoes of this person, but does that mean they have been absorbed into the space between? That sort of weird sort of mycelium, I'm thinking Star Trek Discovery, that sort of thing, and they are part of this big network now? Or is it just a ghost and something that's just Esko's put as a way to put them forward? Because that never really got answered. Like, you were been driven on by this force, and that was sort of your connection to the ship. But
for me, the thing I'd want to find out is the slight the further mystery around Revan was because we came into this that they were, or at least they believed that they had been made, right, when spliced with this DNA and stuff. And by the end, I got the feeling that was just a big old lie.
Yeah.
And that really they were just whatever this ancient civilization was, and all these people had, and they had just been brought up being told that is, you're something completely different, and as they said, like conditioned by the mandate. So it kind of feels like that there's a whole like what is that species, like how did they get a hold of them?
Another spicy Strat headcanon.
No, that's true. I think all the connections we ended up having to build, all those links, like Waldrin as well. Olwyn, his family, their place in this whole thing, the twins, that relationship. Your thing with the spy, I'm like, how did that happen? Tell me more. I did not expect that from this character. reunions would be amazing. Confrontations. And I don't know. It's rife for like. There's so much potential for so many things. What else? Val feels like, I don't know. I'd be interesting just as having played Revan. First of all, to get my pronouns right. It's the first time playing a they them, and I'm like, come on, it's not that difficult. What are you doing? But just like how the relationships between these characters have shifted, because I saw some things like beginning to bubble up, and I was like, oh, this is very interesting. I want to see where it goes. So yeah, more about the sort of what we know from the backstory and some of these NPCs and people we've hinted at sort of appearing fully. That would be very interesting, I think.
And we didn't interact very much with the scum and villainy. So I imagine there's a lot of kind of
true.
people in, like, people Val owes and has double-crossed and made bargains with that could definitely complicate life for this crew if we went to more civilized or perhaps uncivilized parts of space.
Yeah, I feel like Val's connections are far like smaller, like they're not mixed up with these big galactic wide issues. I felt very much like Val was just kind of being buffeted along by forces very much greater than like that really they have no place in being part of at all, and that his stuff would come out if it was more the kind of criminal stuff. It's a different thing altogether. It is like there's something bigger than you, and you just happen to be the right person with the right blaster at the right time.
It's just the nature of the story that we decided to tell this time. You know, if we had decided to focus more on scum and villainy, it was more to do with Val's history, and if we were going off and doing some jobs or dealing with sort of, I guess, civilian level stories, as opposed to galaxy changing stories, which we decided to tell in the end, it would have been very different. Yeah,
I would say that on a sort of side note, now that obviously Callahan has gone, I think every series or episode now, it's the next Callahan that have grown up.
Oh my goodness.
So like Callahan the First, and we have different hairstyles and all that sort of thing.
I just think they're a rotten family.
Can I just say, does anyone play Borderlands? Or
Yes.
anything?
Yes.
Do you play the 3?
Yeah.
It's like the Tront family.
It is. All the Tronts come on.
You killed my brother, I'm going to kill you. Nope.
But I have a question, though, because obviously you had the Baldwin as the original 16. So technically, would you be the 17th then? And you just happened to replace him?
I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest with you. Maybe he was the 15, or maybe they just thought that because it's a fraternal rather than a paternal inheritance of the title, maybe they just said, well, you're on the same level of the family tree, we'll just pretend like Baldwin didn't exist. And you'll just
brutal.
become 16. Yeah. So my regret with Baldwin is that I wish I hadn't picked such a silly derogatory name for a character that actually turned out to be quite important in the end. I wish I'd given the poor bugger an actual name.
That's the beauty of it, is realising like, oh god, it's actually key. And we've just been neglecting it this whole time. So.
I just came to a realisation about this, though. He's the older twin, right? So it means you were born at the same time, just he was born slightly sooner or earlier than you. Is the Olwyn Callahan the 16th? That's the full name. That's the 16th. So was that his name, and then they just gave it to you?
Oh, I
and then
see.
you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I imagine it's an inherited name.
That's
I reckon
like
that Olwyn
kings.
might have had a different name.
You had like a different birth name.
I just inherited it.
You just inherited it. So that's an interesting point as well.
So you didn't just take the title and the 16th, you took the man's
whole
name
name.
as well.
Name.
Damning.
That's harsh.
No wonder he was dramatic.
I know. And what does it all come down to? The fact that he just didn't have a good hairline. Like, that's so
petty.
horrible.
Political traditions in the galaxy are weird.
Yeah. No, 100%. I was thinking about the role of the character, and I was thinking if this turned into like a big space opera TV show that could span like generations, hundreds of years, I'd always have the same actor playing the different Callahan Olwyn every single time, and just have a different hairstyle. Do you know what I mean?
Amazing.
So even like 200 years later, it's a descendant, but it's still the same actor. They've just got
Basically
different hair.
I like
Blackadder.
that. That's really cool.
Space.
I like you walk down the corridor Callahans and it's just the same person.
Same hologram.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Even the women or the non-genderless ones, it's the same face.
We missed an opportunity naming his bot Baldric or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I feel like it's very reminiscent of everyone looking the same. It's like these two
Yeah.
these two characters that keep repeating themselves.
That'd be amazing.
I do have to say though, with Val, it's really interesting the way you played him. I feel like I would love to see him in Scum and Villainy, like in his element, because in the back of Revan's mind, I was like, they're so not what I not pictured, but like my experience of Scum and Villainy was very different, and you seemed like a slightly eccentric, but genuinely nice guy-ish. Just, and I was like, how did he survive? How does he operate in that world? That would be, I was just thinking about it.
Just charms his way through everything. You're like, but how?
But
No one knows.
How are you not dead in a ditch
Yeah.
somewhere?
Chooses his friends very carefully.
Yeah, I think it also comes down to the choose a look thing we did at the start. It's laughing smile, finger on the trigger. He will flamboyantly charm his way out of a situation if he can, but if not,
Pew, pew.
I think his flamboyance. But I mean, he quite happily and indeed gleefully blew up an entire ship full
Agreed.
of people.
Yeah.
Like, he may be like nice to your face, but I think the reason he has survived is that he's willing to do whatever it takes to survive, and and because he's given up hope of getting out and not being that person, he can kind of do that stuff.
Yep. Bit ruthless. We did realize it's like you just killed one of our characters' mum.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And then had a happy dance about it.
Well, on that note, while we're thinking about things that may come back to haunt us, let's wrap up this Backstage episode there. Thank you all very much for playing and for sticking around Backstage. And I hope we see you all on the show again soon.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank
Thank you for running it, Matt. It was awesome.
Yeah.
This has been The First Nova, a studio production from Merely Roleplayers, starring Matt Boothman as Esko Triff, Josh Yard as Olwyn Callahan the 16th, and Strat as Val Waldrin, guest starring Fiona Howard as Jodie Shute, and introducing Marta de Silva as Revan. The theme music is by Alexander Pankhurst, and the episode was edited and produced by Matt Boothman. We were playing Galactic, a role-playing game by Riley Rathal. You can find Galactic and many other fine games at metagame.itch.io. Merely Roleplayers is a Foggy Outline production in association with Blackshaw Theatre Company. Until next time, if drama be the food of life, play on.